Have you ever looked at a drawing of two characters together and think, man, I wonder how many drawings there are of these two? Well, I've had that question on my mind for some time now, and I've taken it upon myself to find the answer. Hi there, I'm Spectre Reaper, the creator of the Mewing Aya GIF and your host in what I hope will turn into a series that I like to call What is a Touhou Character's Least and Most Popular Ships, where I take a single character from Touhou project and then try to look at every single ship I could possibly find for that character, and then sort them from lowest to highest, where I can then show you the results of my findings. This video will act as an extended introduction to the actual videos, so that if you're interested in knowing my personal rules and the methods of gathering the data in full detail, you can watch through this. If you aren't interested, I will include a shorter version at the beginning of every video, just so everyone is up to speed in how I got my results. So, before I get to explaining, I will first disclose that these videos probably won't include a whole lot of explanations for why the ships exist or why it makes sense for the characters to be together. I'm not the most knowledgeable in terms of how the characters are written outside of the games, and certain things like connecting the characters to real-life mythologies and legends are not things I'm particularly adept at. I am, however, eager to learn, so if you are knowledgeable about these aspects, feel free to leave a comment. I will always welcome any way to know Touhou better. If you want a more direct approach with this and potentially help with future videos, then stick around so I can tell you the best way to contact me. All of that being said, where do I even begin to get the numbers? What is the sample size for these rankings? Well, there's precisely one place where I can get that. A place that has always been the source of your favorite Touhou fanarts, a place that will be perfect for getting the data that I need. And that place is... So yes, Pixif will be my one and only source in these videos. That means that any drawings that come from other places like Twitter, Blue Sky, follow me on those, Discord, DeviantArt, maybe Instagram, TikTok, fucking DeemJolt, none of those will count towards the data that I'll be using, and I have several reasons for this. For one, whenever you search for something, Pixif shows you front and center the amount of works that exist that uses the tags of the thing that you search for. Speaking of tags, Pixif is also where pretty much every single Touhou ship names come from, so much so that Pixif's encyclopedia has a whole section dedicated to Touhou ship tags. And it is this encyclopedia that is used as the source for the points used in the fan game called Alice's Doki Doki Love Train, or Love Train for short, where the gameplay has you pair two characters together and getting points depending on how much works exist for that pair, eventually creating a very long chain until you lose because the two characters have zero works together. To summarize, Pixif is just a very rich and reliable source of Touhou ships, which is why I'll be using it to get my data. But I can't possibly just take the raw number that I see from my search results or from Love Train and then put that down as the data now, can I? That would be sloppy and not thorough at all. That's why this next section will explain my personal rules when it comes to crunching the numbers and the step-by-step methods of getting the numbers in the first place. Rule number 1. These two settings will be turned off. I'm here to get hard data, which has to include the data. The first setting remains on though, as not all content flagged as sensitive actually shows anything explicit. I mean, hell, this thing I posted is considered sensitive content. Speaking of my own works, there is also a rule for that, but we'll get back to that. Rule number 2. No guys. For one, that is definitely not why you'd click on a video like this, so why bother? For two, I don't believe there is a tag for straight couples that's anywhere near as abundant as Yuri or Yaoi. I have seen tags that specify things like boyfriend and girlfriend, but like, who the hell is gonna be using that for Touhou? So that means you won't be seeing Ryunosuke, and if enough people ask, I might get around to doing a full episode on the guys alone. But for every other character, they want to be making an appearance. As for the PC98 characters who don't have a clear gender, well, people still use the Yuri tag for them, so they still count. Rule number 3. Characters from media outside of Touhou will not be counted, and this includes Seiho Project. I'll point out whenever I come across an amusing ship that uses outside characters, but they want to be a part of the rankings. I'll also do the same for ships that are Touhou only, but they were posted outside of Pixif. Rule number 4. Both characters have to be present in the drawing. The one exception is if the title or caption of the post makes it very clear that it's an interaction between two of the characters, as I've also come across some drawings where it's just one of the characters, but the caption reveals that the post is intended to be a conversation between the characters, so you're essentially looking through the POV of the other character. Another reason this rule was added was for costume swaps. Sometimes people draw one character wearing the outfit of another, and it's nice, but it doesn't exactly fit the bill thrill of being part of a ship ranking, which is why I want both of the characters to be present so I can count it. Rule number 5. My own works are not counted and will be subtracted from the final amount. This one is pretty self-explanatory. I'm the one gathering the data, so theoretically speaking, I can continue to draw my favorite ships and artificially increase the number of works that exist. So these rules are essentially used so that I can polish the total amount and get the most optimized results. So before I even polish the numbers, how do I get it in the first place? Let's get into the step-by-step methods, shall we? Step number 1, the first list. Remember the encyclopedia I mentioned earlier? This page includes the majority of a character's ships, which is why I'll be using it as my list at first. For you see, there are some ships that are so rare, so cracked that no one would even think about it, and it's those ships that are not included in this encyclopedia. So how would I find them? Well, that will be step number 2, the hunt. So another cool thing about Pixel's search function is that you can actually add more things than just tags to find the things you precisely want. In this case, you can add a dash right before a tag in order to exclude them from the results. Now, from my experience, this doesn't work 100% of the time. Sometimes there are stragglers that just won't go away, but it does its job well enough. And it is this function that will allow me to find those rare pairs and cracked ships, as I can search for the character I need and then I can exclude all the popular ships, eventually thinning the results enough that I'm able to find the rare pairs quite easily. After doing that, I'm able to add them onto the list, which at this point, I still have yet to get the numbers off. I will do that at step number 3, the gathering. Before I go and get the numbers, I pair the two characters together in Love Train to get an estimated amount. Since Love Train only counts the amount of works that a specific tag has, it won't be as thorough as my results, but it gives me a good idea of the amount that I'll be expecting. All of that being said, how am I going to get the exact numbers for the ships? Well, take a look at this. I know you're thinking, Spectre, what am I looking at? And this right here is the template for how I'm going to search the ships. In this example, I want to look for Reimu and Marisa, because of course I do. The first character is Reimu's first name, and I'm excluding her last name due to some works opting to exclude it. But don't worry, works with her full name still appears if I do this. The second character is Marisa's first name. This means that, so far, my search results will be every single drawing that has both Reimu and Marisa in it. But that's not enough, as some drawings aren't inherently romantic, and thus they don't fit into the shipping category. So how can I help myself at finding those? Well, that's what these two characters in parentheses are for. First off, the OR here means that I'm searching for either one of these tags. And these tags are inside the parentheses, which means that right now I'm searching for Reimu, Marisa, and then either one of these two. So what are they? The first character is the tag for Yuri, and the second one is for lesbians. Very cool. And then all of those are put in its own parentheses because I'm not done. There's now a second OR, meaning that I'm either searching for works with Reimu, Marisa, then either Yuri or lesbians, or I search for the ship tags. The first one is Rei Mari, and the second one is Mari Rei. And again, I put these in parentheses as well. So that was a bit convoluted, right? Essentially, this template is just a way for me to maximize the amount of works I can find in a single search, and it works well enough. Until my eye catches that one of the drawings that comes up in my search results either don't include Reimu or Marisa for whatever reason, or it does include both of them, but it doesn't involve them being together. So what do I do if that happens? Well, that's step number 4, the polishing. Admittedly, for the more popular pairings with thousands upon thousands of works, I won't be doing this part perfectly, but for the ones that only have hundreds or less, I am willing to polish the final amount. So how do I do that? Well, for the aforementioned popular pairings, I simply exclude the other ships that I can find in the first few pages. Once I feel there's mostly the ones I'm looking for, I just take the number shown at me as the final answer. As for the less popular ones, here's what I do exactly. The first thing I do is that I open a stopwatch, so that I don't have to manually count the works that don't fit the bill. I can just click on the button and have the final numbers be the amount of works that will be subtracted from the final amount. And after that, I go and take a look at every page of the search results. These are the main things I look at. If the thumbnail doesn't show the two characters I want, I go check on it. If it turns out that it does include the ship that I need, maybe in a different drawing or panel, or if the tag for the ship I need is included in the post, then it will be part of the total. If it doesn't fit those criteria, say there is a post of Reimu and Marisa, but it turns out to instead focus on Marisa and Alice, then I want to be counting it in the final amount for Reimu and Marisa's total. Essentially, I'll be combing over my search results to make sure that I don't include anything that doesn't fit with the data that I need. After that, I go and compare my numbers to that of the ones I got from Love Train. Generally speaking, Love Train will have lower numbers than mine, though as we get into the very unpopular ones, it will eventually be equal, but there are some exceptions where Love Train actually has more. due to this whole polishing process, resulting in me subtracting works that would otherwise count for the love train. All of the tags and numbers are all organized in a single spreadsheet that I will make public so you can read through the list without having to watch my video. So that kind of defeats the whole purpose of making these videos, huh? Oh well. So this video was quite a lot for a mere explanation of my methodologies. So let's summarize everything so far. My sample size is only Pixiv, no other social media, though I will mention any interesting pairings that I find outside of Pixiv, but they won't be counted towards the list of ships. To keep things organized, I've set a few ground rules, mainly no R18 works, no men, no characters from media outside of Touhou, both characters have to be present in the drawing, and finally, my own works are not counted. In order to easily find the less popular ships, I will exclude the popular ships from my search results until the results are thin enough that I can scroll through the pages myself. To get a rough idea of the numbers, I will first pair the characters in Love Train and see how many works are counted in that game. After that, I go search for the ships with this template and then thoroughly look through the pages to find any works that don't quite fit, which I will then subtract from the total amount. Once all is said and done, I organize my data inside a spreadsheet which I can easily modify to sort from lowest to highest. And that's about it. If you've watched through this whole thing, I hope you look forward to the actual videos. This concept has been on my mind since I wanna say July of last year, so I'm happy to finally be able to make it come to fruition. And don't worry, I won't completely deviate into making these kinds of contents. The Touhou A-Life soundtracks will continue, and I'm hoping to make more YTPMVs as well. This will just be a new addition to the Spectre Reaper channel, one I'm hoping will last for a good amount of time. Before I say my goodbyes, I mentioned in the beginning of the video that if you want to help out with future videos by explaining to me why certain ships make sense, then you're very much welcome to do so. But just know that there won't be any immediate effect, as I've already prepared the first video before this is uploaded, and the next one won't come for a while. All that being said, here's the name of my Discord's alt account. I'm giving you my alt because I don't want to get friend requests from strangers on my main. Just shoot me a DM saying something like, hey, I know some things about some ships, and I'll get back to you whenever I get around to making the next video. So don't be surprised if you don't get a response at all for a long time. Just know that you have been considered to help out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, which is probably tomorrow. See ya.